Welcome back to another installment, another episode, another interview podcast. I don't know. We'll call it whatever we like, but welcome back. Dylan again from the Indiverse here, open marketplace, independent games, all that fun stuff. We are here today with a bit of a different guest. We've had one or two on that had gone through Kickstarter, gone through the process of making games. There's a lot of things that you learn from the tail end of Kickstarter campaign or even personal funding for games that you guys are creating. But we have someone today who is in, let's say, the first 30 to 40% of it. So we've got the lovely Katherine from Tres Gatitos Games, and I said it right the first time, which I didn't think I'd do. Go me, high five. Who's in the midst of, I believe, still playtesting for your first game. So it went through a couple iterations, and yeah, we're in the playtesting phase. So welcome. How you going?
Thank you for having us. Thank you. And I'm having a great day so far.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're very much correct. We're still in, I'd say 30 to 40% in terms of a full, production and release schedule. And it's going through various iterations.
Yeah, amazing. So, I mean, give us a little bit of a spiel about yourself. Tell us about yourself, how you got here, what inspires you.
Well, it's a long and
Spirit.
windy story, but I'll give you a bit of a TLDR, I suppose.
Sure.
I've been a STEM kid all on, and I studied design, Bachelor of Design in the University of Melbourne, but my major was in mechanical systems, which leads into mechanical engineering, which I am actually currently studying. So, I have lots of hobbies: computers, cybersecurity, programming. I had a very, very brief stint with video editing, but that quickly fell apart. Um, and I also am very interested in cars and so on, and just 3D printing things. Your very generic STEM hobbies, if you will. But I got into tabletop gaming specifically is actually because I took a breadth subject in the very last semester of my undergrad. So breadth, if for those who don't know, is the system at University of Melbourne where they require you to take at least one separate subject every semester, where the subject is outside of your normal stream, if you will. And so I took game design, quite straightforward name. And turns out the subject is very easy. All you do is play board games, tabletop games of any sort, and you end up designing a game of your own with a group. And we designed Blasphemy, working title, and we got very, very good responses and, well, thankfully, very good grades on it. And so we thought, hey, why not take this a little bit further? And, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, you've got something fun to play that I have had the privilege of playing. It was honestly some of the stuff that you guys are doing with that game, and I said it when I first played, like it made me think in a whole different light around like strategy games and like the social deduction kind of side of things where you're working with players and it's not always the direct route that without giving too much away, because you should go and totally play test this game. Is fantastic. I don't know if you guys have like a print play test or anything like that for like people at home to have a squeeze at, but yeah, we can chuck that in the show notes and that for today, because yeah, it is honestly one of the most interesting. I think like the core of what you have is, I wouldn't say something that's incredibly, like, it's not absolutely brand spanking new, but it's all the little bits that you've bolted onto it that around like the table side of things that make it really interesting. So without giving it all away, because again, go play. It's really fun. It's really fun, and the art style is phenomenal and hilarious.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so yeah, definitely. And kudos to the artists as well. We met them the other day when we met for the first time, and yeah, you got a really good one in there. So yeah, hang on to them, especially if you want to be doing more stuff in the game space. I mean, if you're going to be a
Sure.
mechanical engineer, like, well, maybe not as much, but hey, you can have hobbies.
I mean, hey, honestly, frankly, I'm doing a course because I'm in too deep to leave. I'm never set on the course of, oh, I must become a mechanical engineer. I must become a game designer. I am seeing where life leads me, right? Because this year, lots of different opportunities have opened up. Some that I've never imagined I'll be doing, like game designing. And yeah, so at the moment we are doing lots of playtesting in the background, and we are looking to open up public playtesting where we have a game and we'll meet at public locations, say a bar, event center, or a library, somewhere around Melbourne, Victoria. And we don't have a printable playtest version just yet because the art is still being finalized, even though, we're doing playtests anyways, but we're hoping to have a more presentable, consistent art before we put it out there as something that people can print and test. But we'll also be doing demo sessions, not quite playtests, but very short demo sessions at PAX Australia. And we've applied to be at PAX Unplugged in Pennsylvania.
Ooh,
Now we're part
wow.
of the tabletop or indie rising challenge, which is something that you just pay 70 AUD give or take, and you get you get put into this competition where you'd be hopefully selected to get a free spot at PAX Unplugged, and fingers crossed.
I think you guys are in for a good running. Is there a way that we can? Obviously, there'll be listings of people who've applied for it. Is it like a voting system? How does it work to get into the unplugged space?
So for the unplugged space, unfortunately, we can't utilize any fan base. It is a closed judging system based on a bunch of judges. We've made a little video that's unlisted,
Mhm.
sadly. But we made a little private video just to showcase the game, and there will be a lot of judges behind the background, and they'll be judging it. And I believe we'll hear back in about 10 to 12 days. So it's
Ooh,
very
exciting!
close now, yeah.
Oh
But
man,
other than that,
if you
oh,
hear
sorry.
it during PAX, I'd love to know if you make it because we'll be there as well. So if you're here during there, come hunt me down and let me know because yeah, I'd be super excited to see just how far you guys take it because like I said, got a
Yeah,
great
it'll be
game there.
great if we hear about it during PAX, but by the looks of it, it'll probably be the week after. But, we're praying.
Fingers are crossed all the way around for you guys. It's yeah, great time to. I think it's one of the most interesting times that to sort of start making the independent space for board games because we're seeing, especially around like the crowdfunding spaces, Kickstarter, GameFound, and like all the slew of other ones that don't even make the sphere of most people's knowledge. Like we're seeing not only like new games come through, like what you guys would be doing if you were going through crowdfunding for your game, but also we see like reprints being a thing that people do. So it's no
Oh,
longer like
yeah.
that new idea that's coming through. So there's a lot of options there for you as well. You've got like major designers and big design companies making games in there just so they can, obviously fund through new things coming through for the games they've already created and stuff like that. So it's a fun time, and and then there's obviously the path of looking for funding yourself, like doing it on your own, or whether you've got people that you've already got funding for, or maybe you already did 10 years as being a mechanical engineer, then you just threw it off to yourself. But
Yeah.
how does that come into the role of it? Because like if you're looking to juggle a couple of things and it's obviously not your full time, how do you overcome that challenge?
Oh, that's a good question. So for us, it's been quite a lengthy process. I think, going from making a board game as a project, just for school, to actually trying to make it into a business is quite a big jump because I'm the one who handles a lot of the administrative side of our game slash business, and I found that unfortunately it's a lot more doing admin than actually working on the game, specifically for me at least, because you have to deal with registration, trademarks. That's so expensive, but also looking at the options of doing publishing and just doing it on your own as Kickstarter. And the reason we went with Kickstarter is honestly, it's more about the fact that yes, publishing is probably easier, and there's a huge indie space. There's a lot of publishers. Some are massive, but a lot of them are really quite small. I've seen a lot of publishers who have a lot of good games under their belt, especially local Victorian publishers, and they're like, what, they have 4 or 5 people at most. A lot of them are family based. A lot of them are just a couple of friends, and so we thought, okay, well, let's be honest, if they're a small publisher, their funding is probably going to be not too dissimilar to ours. They're not going to be a crazy billionaire company who's going to throw millions at you. That's just not the case. And so we thought, okay, there's a lot of people who've clearly done Kickstarter. They've done a great job, right? Just huge projects. A lot of them I see 6 figures minimum, and
Yeah.
then a lot of the really detailed games they make 7 figures just on Kickstarter. And so we thought, okay, we have two paths. Well, they're not really that dissimilar in outcome, but the result is that, or rather, the process is quite different. You have to put in a lot more effort. And I thought, hey, it's the first time we're looking to just see how far this goes. We're not really looking to make our first bucket of gold on this, but we're also not. I don't quite know how to put this in a way. I guess we're not afraid to fail in a good way, right? Like we're willing to adventure out and see where it takes us, and hence we decided let's do Kickstarter. There's a lot more work. We have to tackle all the legal things ourselves. We have to do the marketing ourselves, and it's so much work. But you learn from it, right?
Very much.
Even
Yeah.
even if we don't last in the space, which I hope we do. I hope it will go so far because I see a lot of potential in our game, and I have lots of different other ideas that are not necessarily related to this game at all. And I want to try those out. And my thought is essentially, if we learn, even if we don't get to use it in the tabletop space, we'll get to use this in so many different places in life, right? Like it never hurt to know how to register a business, and never hurt to know how to deal business taxes.
That's true. That is very true. It's such a, and I've been learning that myself with us starting out. And the first few months are, it's a lot of stop, a lot of start, a lot of like really short, hard sprints, and then a lot of like, well, we have some downtime to like move through different things and trying to sort of like calibrate where you're at. And I can understand that from your side. Like it's got to be interesting to sort of like weigh up your possibilities, because like I can imagine going to a publisher requires going through a bunch of hoops, making sure that you've got something that's viable for them, that fits for them. For their side of things, they're going to make sure that it's like viable for them to sell, for them to market, to put through. So there's a lot of like marrying up of things you've got to do, which is, I can imagine that that's a lot of effort in and of itself. Like I've worked across businesses that try and do mergers and that's hard enough. And like you guys are sort of coming together with like, you've got your first game out, you've got a great platform to do it, you've got a great team to sort of help teach, train, and get people excited about it. But then the thing that I always find interesting about when people go to publishers, and I don't know if this is the case or not, like what happens after you like get your first thing published? Like what happens for you? Like what do you picture that? If you're going the publishing route, you got picked up in a day, what happens then?
See, that's essentially what I was thinking. Where my first experience with going to a market is actually at the Melbourne Meeples Games Market.
Yeah, yeah.
It was earlier this year, and that was pretty much just after our project was handed into the subject, and our tutors were actually really lovely, and they thought our game was so good. They suggested that we talk to the professor, who's the subject coordinator, and then she asked us to essentially come to this game market, or rather, the tutor and her asked us to go to the game market, and we thought, we're going to go into some back room and just show it to just her, and maybe, I don't know what was gonna happen. Maybe we'll get taken on for some project that she's doing. Who knows? Wasn't expecting anything. But then next thing we know, we show up there. There's an empty table next to them, and they're like, "All right, sit down. Present your game to them." Uh,
Wow.
yeah. And with that, I had some chance to walk around to different tables, and some people are truly impressive. They have 5-6 games being designed concurrently. They're a single person, and they're selling their games to publishers, because obviously if you're a single person, it's definitely too much to take care of all of that by yourself. And from what I understand, essentially with a publisher, you are essentially promising them a cut, right? And they give you funding and they give you support. Depending on the smaller or larger publishers, from what I understand, they have artists who will help you. They have people who will help you organize manufacturing, because they obviously would have the existing relationships.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So essentially, you're selling them the idea that you've made and then they'll take care of bringing it up to a stage where it's sellable, and obviously that comes at a cost to you. Be it depending on your contract, I wouldn't know because I haven't actually gone through this path fully. But obviously you have to exchange some level of creative freedom and financial returns for that. But it is to each of their own.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty mutually beneficial sort of agreement. Like it might mean that you don't get the exact thing that you were after when you first started that journey of creating your game. And that might be from people with experience who could give you advice, and you might make those changes. They may make those changes. And I mean, some people may be for that. Some people may just want to hang on to the thing they've created and never let anyone make anything else. So I guess it is kind of like the it depends on like what stage you're sort of looking for that 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 sort of partnership there. Where like I think if you had like a fully fleshed out like a done game ready to sort of just like put in boxes and go to stores or go wherever they're going to be selling it, I think the chat or the conversation's a lot more different. Because obviously they have to invest a whole lot less into what you guys have already got. It's really going to be shifting towards that marketing sort of drive, which you
Absolutely.
obviously take. Yeah, yeah, and you take all that stuff on yourself when you go to the crowdfunding side of things. So, what's been your strategy for building up a community, getting it into the Kickstarter space? Like, what's the sort of stepping stones you've taken so far? If you're happy to share.
Oh no, absolutely. So for us it's been quite tough because while as you've seen, we've got a game that's in terms of playability, I would say it's quite far along.
Most
But again,
definitely.
I'm not doing this by myself, right? And I have a team of or rather colleagues, because I'm not exactly a dictator. It is very much a push and pull, right? But I am the person who's tends to be very optimistic and oftentimes truly overly optimistic. And I thank my teammates so much for being the anchor that pull me back to the ground a lot more. So it's always a constant push and pull, even with ideas. This game was never an idea of my own. We all had different parts in it. And so with our strategy, I was hoping to launch it truly quite quickly. Hopefully we'll go to Kickstarter early, maybe January or February next year. But now I've come to understand, really, depending on how we feel, right? We'll launch it when it's ready. Currently, we are going to all these different conventions, some much bigger than others. We've gone to smaller local markets, but we're also going to PAX, and hopefully we're going to be overseas. Again, fingers crossed.
Yep.
But we're essentially trying to show off our game as much as we can in public
Mhm.
to build up a fan base, because again, we're no name and this is our first game. We want people to know about it while it's still being made, so that then we can jump onto Kickstarter with a lot of fans already behind our back, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. I see a lot of creatives in my new time on like Instagram and the socials and that in this sort of in the space rather than just sort of my own personal profiles and stuff. That there is a lot of that that coming together of like the creative process as like that is your pre-advertising campaign, and I've seen various successes, especially like the when you've got cool stuff to show. Like the art stuff is a really big, very popular sort of thing. There's actually a group who I've had a chat to, I think once, and they just released a Kickstarter a couple of days ago, and it funded in only an hour a day, just under a day. And they have some of the coolest little art style for these turtles. I think it's called Who Murdered the Turtle? Very cool game. Looked very fun, social deduction kind of thing. And that's the sort of thing that, like, when I was looking at it, even for me personally, not even thinking about like the Indieverse side of things or an independent that we could approach, like it just that's what took me right there. So getting that grip on there is like that's great for getting you guys out there and starting to sort of get the, like you say, the fans behind you.
Exactly, because frankly, it's like if you are only doing your advertising once your Kickstarter has already started,
Missed the boat.
yeah, too
Yeah,
late.
yeah.
Like I've talked to so many people, especially I don't know if I can name drop him. I think I believe it's Isaac from Straight Up Games.
A great friend. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Love that guy. Yeah.
he's the first person actually I've talked to. He was there at the Maple Games Market when we were there. So he was the first person I've talked to, and one of the great advice I heard from him was essentially, they went to PAX just like us, and they launched their Kickstarter right after PAX. You got to get that momentum going, because unfortunately we're no longer in 2015. My colleague Matthew always says we're not in 2015 anymore. We're not launching Exploding Kittens, one of the first board games that went crazy on Kickstarter. If you look on it now, there's so many amazing games, right? A
Oh
lot of
yeah.
them, yeah, like Exploding Kittens, they had an idea and that's it when they started, right? They
Mm-hmm.
developed from there. But nowadays, you're looking at games that are made by people who are actual companies, and they have insane, like hell, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, they
Yep.
have games. Cyberpunk, they have a recently funded Kickstarter campaign, and they are insane. So you're now looking at at a stage where you can't be picked up on just an idea. You have to have your game entirely ready, and then you explode onto Kickstarter. You have to be funded within the first day, else you're gonna fizzle out. Unfortunately, at least that's our understanding.
I've heard that a lot. I have heard that people will go to, and I shouted out the team at Who Murdered the Turtle. And again, don't mean to throw any shade or suggest that they've done anything untoward as far as like getting towards a Kickstarter campaign and all that. But I have heard that people will purposefully like put down the smallest amount they can to sort of like get to that 100% funded. And then the stretch goals are sort of like the things that they've just like didn't think would make the cut for like that funded sort of status. So how, I guess from my side of the world, I'm very new to this sort of space. Have you had much of experience in that sort of thing? And do you think it has a positive or negative impact on like the small independents to start with compared to the Dark Souls, Bandai Namco's of the world?
I think honestly, I think I've heard of this a lot too, and I actually see it happening because most of the times you'll see that a lot of the games companies, especially with indie titles, even the bigger companies, right, who you end up seeing them being funded to I don't know, 1 million, 2 million. I've seen like $7 million funded from a
Insane
couple
amounts.
thousand people. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
crazy. And you see that their goals are 100,000, which compared to their game, it's definitely too low.
Mm.
And I see it's a common thing, and I've seen people on YouTube talk about it, etc., etc. And ultimately, I think it's a system I don't necessarily like per se, but it is also how it is. Which again, I'm not a fan of the world is just how it is and you have to just follow it. I'm typically a person who thinks if something's wrong you should change it, but as is from a strictly business perspective, which I know is quite cold to put it, but from a strictly business perspective, if you want to succeed, you have to almost play with the algorithm. It's just like YouTube now, and no, quite literally, it is just like YouTube, and it's the fact that if you get funded within the first couple of hours, even though perhaps you need say $10,000, or you're hoping to get $10,000, but you can make a game, you can start making the game at just 1,000. You put down 1,000, and then you get funded say within the first 30 minutes. You can put that on your banner now.
That's
Funded within
true.
30
Yeah.
minutes. They don't care how much you want it. $1,000 minimum, and you actually can deliver the game at that amount. Sure, you're not lying by any means. You're just putting the lowest bar there so that you can actually get the banner and also oftentimes get put on news, if you will. Lots of different blogs, websites, and you can put in advertising. We've funded 100% funded, 2,000% funded, 5,000% funded, and it just gets the snowball rolling so much faster than if you say, "Oh, we want to make, I don't know, we want to make 500,000," so you put down 500,000. Not gonna happen. Even if you actually did reach 500,000 by putting down 1,000 in the first place, having the high goal up there in the first place is not gonna get you there. At least that's my understanding. We will be testing if the prophecy comes true, I suppose, in a couple of months' time, maybe in a year's time. But that is currently what typically gets told in the community, at least.
Okay, don't worry. When I see yours going up for the $1 million like pledge thing, I'll give you my first million. We'll just make it nice and easy for you, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, it does feel really disingenuous, and like it's not. I have mixed feelings on it too. Like I think I sort of sit on the fence with it for you. For like a designer who wants to go out there and have that good news story, I'm so there for it. But at the same time, it's kind of it kind of looks the same way from like you think about the other end of the table. Like you think about the Dark Souls, the big end of the table, the big end of the world, where they would need more than, again, they probably follow the same thing. They probably need more than $100,000, I'd say, to get everyone who wanted to buy that Dark Souls game, which I have big fan of the series, but I haven't even bought it yet. I probably should. I've heard it's all right. But like they would definitely need more than that to get across the amount of pledges that they assumed they would get. And so for them, they're banking on the fact that they have a huge audience, which they do, and they put in still something that I would call pretty conservative for like putting out like the base shipment of the game. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they had like a minimum order of like this many boxes to go out, and they just slap that straight on there too. Like it wouldn't surprise me, because again, it's that good news story. It's like, yes, we, even though we have this massive project with all these minis and 3D model things, we only need this much, like this small amount of money, and then it's the good news from there on. Yeah, we're doing all these extra things for you. It feels like you're getting something more for something that is like well more worthwhile. Like, yeah, much more valuable as far as the economy and money is concerned. Yeah, very. I don't know. I think it'd be something that I talk with a lot of people in your position or people who've gone through crowdfunding as well. Because, yeah, I don't think there is a right answer. And like looking after yourself as a designer, again, sounds great to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said earlier, right? I have very much the mixed feeling, and before I call it, it's like the YouTube clickbait game. But I realized that there is something even more akin to. It's essentially, your Google SEO, right?
Yeah,
You SEO to me is a completely evil business. Like the fact that you're actively making your website oftentimes worse for the sake of being on top of the search algorithm. It's something that's so horrendous, but it's a case of the business came out of a broken system, and I have two sides to me, right? I have the very much idealistic part of me where I absolutely recognize this is a terrible system, absolutely should be changed, right? And everybody knows Google's search results are getting worse, and SEO is not helping at all. All you get is these. I don't know if you've seen that. I've seen so many AI generated,
oh yeah,
slop websites that go on the first page, and they all have the exact same content, and
yeah.
it's terrible, and it's born out of this urge to be on the top and to use the SEO, and I'm worried that Kickstarter maybe will become that someday if it hasn't already. Um, but there's also the side that where call me selfish or whatnot. You're taking care of a business, right? You're trying to get it out there. You don't have the power to change a system, so you have to play the game almost. And it is I don't like to call it the necessary evil because I don't think it is necessary, but from a business perspective it is absolutely necessary.
It's more like the right now evil. Like I can't think of it. I can't. I know what you mean, and like it's definitely not necessary at all. But it is the evil that we're kind of stuck with, if you're in that perspective, anyway. So yeah, I
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. And then there's after Kickstarter, like that's sort of the thing that, or crowdfunding in general, publishing, whatever. It's like what happens after that? Like we've seen lots of people who have massive Kickstarters, massive successes, and maybe it's the inflation of like their lowest order of quality, but it doesn't matter. They've got great games out there, lots of money behind them to make either their next thing or expand on their universe, whatever they're doing. And it feels like they just have nothing after Kickstarter. Like Kickstarter is great at advertising you, pushes you up in the algorithm when you're doing well, and then you go at the back end of it. Sure, you have your social media, the marketing space, the fan base that you've already got there, but you're talking about a business now. Like what that needs to do to succeed is to grow, and that's the side of things that we are seeing a lot of troubles with what motivated this format, us talking to designers like yourself, is like, what is that path? Because we have so many people asking this question, and it's like, I don't expect a perfect answer from you, and definitely not going to spotlight you for that one. But like, what does that look like? Have you thought about what after crowdfunding looks like? What happens when you have Blasphemy and you've got hundreds of people out with a game? What do you do then?
So that's actually very interesting because it's something I've noticed myself as well, and I've given it some thought. And for us specifically, the goal is to essentially have physical games in stores. Mind games, your other shops as well. Essentially, get it into board game shops and have a continued, even if much lower flow of stock. Because let's be honest, if you're having Kickstarter and you handle your marketing well, you would have captured the majority of people who are interested right away. So the sales are going to be definitely very small. And also, so I've seen, a lot of games go into actual game stores, and that's what we're hoping to do too. because that saves you the effort of having to run your own online shops. And that's something that actually currently publishers help a lot, right? Publishers seem to have their own website where they hold stock, and I see a lot of publishers going to smaller games market with their top selling projects,
Yeah.
or even just all of their projects, and they'll sell it there. So that's something a publisher can afford to do because they have a lot of projects under their belt. They have a lot of game being stocked. They're essentially a game store themselves, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But then I also seen a lot of big projects. Again, the Dark Souls, your Cyberpunk, your Horizon Zero Dawn. That game is personal favorite of mine. The video game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still waiting for the
Fantastic.
sequel to go on sale on Steam.
Yeah. Same. Same.
Yeah, I've been waiting ever since it was first announced. I won't ramble on about it here, but essentially, I'm waiting for it to get cheaper because I have too many games to play anyways. I'm not gonna buy it at $100 and then run through it now. But they have a really really amazing looking board game that they made, and they've gone through all the Kickstarters and all that. And they've been made. I can't remember the studio now off the top of my head, but they're made by quite a well-known studio who also handled again Dark Souls, Elden Ring, etc. It's made by a very well-known workshop, I believe, in the UK, and they do these big projects. And maybe this is not actually true, but what I've noticed is that after the project ends, they sell all their copies. I struggle to find additional copies. They don't seem to really continue on selling them. Like when I was looking at Horizon specifically, the board game, they were pretty much out of stock on most, if not all of them. So I do wonder if a lot of these bigger projects who, raise millions, tens of millions, I wonder if, to them, this is a case of we do one big shot and that's it. Because maybe to them it's not worth the continued production cost or the cost of holding on to stock or advertising. I don't actually know because I don't have, someone inside these big studios. Maybe someone will come and talk to you about it. I'd love to find out about it, honestly.
Yeah, that is. I hadn't actually thought of it in that regard because they have, like you say, they have squillions of dollars that go towards these things, and they get all their games out there, and obviously there's a massive market out there for people to buy these kind of things. And I know from our own looking research, and no doubt you've heard the same across the chat, but not everyone's into crowdfunding. So, and that could be for multiple reasons. Like whatever they are, they just don't do it. And for I think the smaller spaces, so like for the big dogs like the Dark Souls, the Horizon Zero Dawn, which I feel you on wanting that to come on sale. I'm dying for it. They don't have to like hang on to the fact that they're going to sell or need to sell a bunch more after that. Like they can just go off and make the next big thing. Once they release their new video game, they can make another Horizon Zero Dawn. They just do the Forbidden West instead of the original. There you go. There's a whole other Kickstarter campaign. They can just funnel through them as quickly as they can churn out the games. But I guess the thing is, like, what happens to the stuff like for the independents? Like when you start looking at smaller spaces, like that is where I start seeing the problems. It's like, what do they get? They are banking on like things going through, and if they want to be a successful design house, they have to grow, they have to keep moving, and if they just keep going through the Kickstarter campaign, like they don't ever get out of the space like you're talking about, where they have to put in all this effort, make a game, new things. It's almost like they have to do all the work again and again and again. They don't get out of that hamster wheel sort of it to find the next step.
Oh my lord, you have okay, I think you have completely nailed it on the head because I've been following this studio. It's called IV Studios. I don't know if you guys know. They are the people who's behind Brink.
So. Oh yes, I have heard of them. Yes, yeah.
Yes, I've been following their progress, and they are exactly like that. To me, they are insanely successful. Now, the IV Studio is, I think, either a side business / a siblings business because they do have their own marketing business side where they make amazing work. But they also have this studio where they are dedicated to board games.
Yeah,
and they've been putting out banging successes left and right. They every game they put out, huge success, at least from our perspective as a small creative, huge success, typically in the millions, and even their expansion packs make huge hits. The most recent game, Brink, again, huge hit. And they're already releasing a new game called Tend, that's either already on Kickstarter or coming out very soon, and
Wow.
all of them are huge hits. And it's a case of I wonder if they do have to keep going because, again, with Kickstarter, you have that huge rush of money where, frankly, I don't know how people reached huge audiences before this without Kickstarter, where it's a spot where you're known to be able to reach a huge majority of your audience in one fell swoop, and you essentially get a promise, right?
Mm.
Since if you're funded, yeah, you're not getting paid until you actually ship everything, or rather until you've already completed your campaign and so on. But it's just a much safer option because even if you're not actually paid there, most people are not going to cancel their pledge last minute.
Yeah.
So if you have designed this game, you haven't manufactured them yet, so you haven't put down that much cost, and you can see just how many people are buying it. Whereas in the past, you would have to design the game, manufacture the stock, and sell it off to retailers, and hopefully people will buy it from the retailers.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
you're
like,
now essentially stuck in this new hamster wheel, like you said.
yeah, and like before the whole Kickstarter thing, before Exploding Kittens, I can't even think of a new game, like a new, like truly unique game that I played ever. Like you discover things surely, but like finding something like new that was made independent that's like completely unique, and like it just didn't happen. And now it's sort of like the other end where we have like this flood of like so many amazing titles, but then it's not even like you say, big companies who could afford to fund their own games, sell them, and that they're sort of like offsetting the risk that to the people who are willing to buy it, which again, from the cold heart of the business side of things, like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, why put all the risk on yourself when you can be like, hey, who actually wants it? Great, pay for it. There you go. Yeah. So, and in that regard, like, I have mixed feelings about crowdfunding as well from that capacity as well. Like, it's great, but like every system, there's some things that I'd love to change about it. I'd love to
Yeah.
change about it.
I
And
mean,
I hope,
interesting. Oh, sorry.
no, no, go, please.
One thing interesting I've noted is actually from me looking for a copy of the Horizon board game,
Mm.
which is that there is a huge aftermarket business as well, or rather a huge gray market for
Oh,
reselling Kickstarter games, right?
mm-hmm,
There's
mm-hmm,
lots
mm-hmm.
of websites where they have tons of Kickstarter projects, and they essentially sell because most games, again, they have stretch goals and so on, and they have really high tiers where they have Kickstarter exclusive kits.
Yep,
And then there's a huge market where they will charge, thousands for what was perhaps already, a couple $100, if not in the low thousands out. They'll charge it for a huge markup and they resell it. It's a
yep.
very interesting situation.
It's like tickets, it's like shoes if you're into it. I don't know, streetwear gets a lot of that stuff there. Like it's that resale market is really it's predatory on those who have FOMO and may not want to do crowdfunding. Like, and it is. And again, for a business side of things, making money for yourself, I understand it completely. But I feel like I don't know if it inadvertently drags the designer through like being associated with that crowd. I don't know if it's like a personal thing that people might go through, or if people get like the image of, hey, they never do anything post Kickstarter, and anyone who doesn't want to do that, they're just told, sorry, better luck next time. Maybe we'll do something outside of crowdfunding. Like, I don't know if it sort of sours that sort of relationship. Getting out of that hamster wheel, like the next steps for a lot of small designers, I think is probably going to be something that is like you say, they want to get to retail, they want to minimize the amount of time, effort so that they sort of have to do stuff that's not creating games. Like you were besmirching the fact that you have to do all this admin work, and trust me, I understand that now that I'm helping start something of our own. I completely get what you mean. But how do you keep the passion for like the creative side of it and not let the business side of it sort of like take over hard? You talked about having two sides, but how do you keep that up?
That is actually a truly a tough question because I don't have an answer to you. Honestly, I don't. All I know at this point, right, is that I love this game. I want to get it out, and I almost don't have time to think about how to keep the passion alive. Now, as someone who's I don't know if it's my ADHD that does it or just I'm just born this way. I have ridiculous dreams, like just just today I slept in quite a bit, but it was because I was having a literal movie, like a sci-fi spy action movie.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very strange. Or it was first a spy movie, and then it became incredibly chaotic because I had stolen an armored limo that converted into a spider mech tank that was cutting up people who were chasing, and 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 I woke up in between bits in that sleep and during that
Mm.
dream, and I had to go. You know what? Hang on, I can't do this. I can't leave this halfway. I have to go back, and it's a lot. It's actually quite a big part of why I often end up sleeping in because I had these crazy dreams, and part of it does lend itself to sort of ideas of games. Right, I have a couple of them in the back of my head, and my hope is essentially once we've gone through this, because like I said, right, this is the learning process. My hope is that once we've gone through this once, we'll have established existing partnerships. We'll have established existing fan base, or at least an advertising avenue. We'll have a name for ourselves. So it will make things easier because, again, it's always tough to do it in small quantities, but economics of scale, right? I'm sure IV Studios and who are not. For example, the studio that's making all the licensed major titles. Yes, they're going through that hamster wheel, but I'm sure it's easier for them, or at least I hope. I hope it is.
You would hope so. Yeah, you would
Yeah,
definitely hope
I would
so.
hope that it's easier for them because at some point it has to become muscle memory, right? At some point it has to become more or less um, going through the motions, but in a good way, because you can
Mm.
then focus on the actual creative parts because you already know how everything goes, and you don't have to be so bogged down on the admins of it.
Yeah, and I guess things about the business side of it, like registering your business, like all the things that you do to get yourself set up so you can do your first one, they get pushed up to the wayside completely, which frees you up to do a lot more of the creative work, which is what everyone wants to do who's a creative, for sure. Yeah, okay, well that's awesome. Like I think that yeah, with the I thought about it, and you did say it was a difficult question to answer, and I thought of it. I've had someone ask me that in the last week, and I thought it was a great question because I couldn't answer it either. We're in the middle of dev work for Indiverse that we're doing, and the thing that gets myself and Hayden specifically the most is just the downtime, trying to find the time to not make like busy work or things that aren't really sort of like in the purview as well, which I don't know in the creative world if you guys are so limited in that space, because I guess like you can go through, refine, go through, playtest yourself, and go through like the steps of like making sure you've got everything ready for the Kickstarter campaign, creating that social media thing. Like, how do you juggle that? Especially the social media. That's the one that's getting me, and I'm finding a lot of people are struggling with like that post Kickstarter, the continuation of that. So, do you have any plans in place to keep that social presence going? No is okay.
No, that is a very good question. So I have a I'm gonna sorry, I'm gonna get this is not gonna age well, but I'm gonna steal a very orange man's words. I have
Oh
a very
no, that's fine.
original
Go for it.
idea.
Go for it.
Um, but yes, I know that it's always tough because again, we are already struggling to juggle social work, social media work. We essentially do our best to post whenever we're going to events. At least a couple posts before, during, and after. But it's in fact we are coming a little bit late on starting our PAX Australia posts. We still haven't started on it. We're about to do it because we have some merch coming for PAX Australia.
Ooh,
Yes, it is
sweet.
basically it's basically because some of our design I really love them. We really love them. So we're hoping to sell them on the side, both and also give some away. Both to bolster our presence, but also to just help make back a little bit of the funding of PAX Australia. It is quite expensive for indie developer.
Yeah, I have heard. I have heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that's good. Like, it's starting to think about, and we move back onto the business side of things. I feel like I should have like a color scheme or something for when I'm business Dylan versus game creative Dylan. I guess that's sort of the thing that people start to think about when they're like, "What's the next steps?" Like selling the game again. great. But you spoke about having the majority of the community that you have, people who are already interested in buying this game, they're probably doing it at that crowdfunding stage. So having more things for them, like growing the, say, Blasphemy, for instance. So you guys have a great game. There's some cards involved. There's a lot of great art. There's tokens and stuff in there. I see. Well, I guess the easiest thing that most people would think of is like a bougied up version. So like the $300 version of Blasphemy with like custom cards. Maybe they're tarot printed on beautiful stock. Like, what else do you like? Do you have any ideas for other things you're looking for adjacent, like expansion sets? Like, without going into detail, obviously, because you should go and play their game. But yeah, what sort of things are you avenuing to look at for post launch?
So post-launch, this is actually something we had put quite a lot of thought into. So obviously, aside from your typical get it into stores selling the same game, what we actually have in mind, which I hope will go through, is that we have some games that we're very interested in, some game developers, and we're hoping to go through and essentially do themed promotional versions, if you will.
Ooh,
I
okay.
won't name who just yet, in case
Ooh.
we blow our shot and they say no, thank you. But we have games that we truly love, digital games, and we're hoping to essentially do themed versions that, just like how Monopoly has a billion different versions. Like, why is there a Fortnite Monopoly? Because they can,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. They can, and it'll sell. That's the thing; it'll sell too.
Yeah, like, why is there Rick and Morty Munchkins that we have on our shelf? Well, because they can do it.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping to do something similar. If, again, obviously all of this is placated on us being successful in the first place. But again, you have to set your sights high, right? If you undershoot, that's fine. But if you set your sights too low and you meet your quota, so what? You'll never know how high you could have gone, right?
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Hence why my mantra is essentially, I'll ask everything to be done, and it's fine if we don't. But it's better than never having tried in the first place.
I love that. I love the mentality around that, because you don't limit yourself to what is feasible in your time frame or to your scale, to your budget. You set your dream bar way up there, and then wherever the chips fall, you've aimed for that. All your efforts go into making it that good, that amazing thing. And if it falls a little short, it's not that fantastic, amazing thing, but it's still a pretty damn great thing. Like, I think that sets your like, it's a personal thing that you can set your bar to. It's a creative space bar that you can set. I think that's it. And being happy with what you've put out there as well. Being proud of the things that you put out there, I think, is one of those things that I see a lot in the independent space, which is mostly why I have the frustrations of why they don't ever do anything with it and go back to crowdfunding. Oh, yeah, but it gets to me. It does. And I think that's because I just hate seeing something with such passion go to waste. And I have, like, you talked about having like a couple of things that you can't find, like Horizon Zero Dawn. I have some of the most amazing independently developed games that I couldn't even tell you where to buy anymore. Like, not even that places will stock it. I can't even find listings for it. Like, I can't buy the base game and the expansion on the same website anywhere. Like, that's what really opened my eyes to the fact that I really didn't like crowdfunding as much for the independents who can't find a way out of it, because it just gets you stuck there. And I yeah, sorry, I will tangent on this one for ages, because it makes me frustrated, sad. I have so many feelings around this thing that I just want. Not that I think that we should make it better, and like we're the Messiah coming through and like cleansing everyone of their crowdfunding woes and stuff like that. But it's an option. It's an avenue that you can take, and something that you can think about. That's not just the same rigmarole. Like, it lets you take that step back, because we have a presence as well. It's not sort of all on your back or just on a publisher as well. Like, there's so many people and spaces in that you can get out to and speak to, and not even just through what we do with Indieverse. Like, social media is like, it's such a new industry. Even though games have been a thing for a long time, like independent space, people self-publishing, self-funding, crowdfunding, like all this, it's such a new and evolutionary thing that I am very excited to see how we go over the next couple of years. And with what we're doing, I'm excited to see how much we can empower that. as much as what like crowdfunding and Kickstarter have. So yeah, it's going to be a fun journey. Oh, so you've got your plan out. You guys are going to crowdfunding. Kudos to you. It's great for a first timer. Anything you're a bit reserved about, concerned about, aside from like obviously not hating the funding and everyone hates your game, which they should. Like it's great, but what's the concern for you guys going forward?
Okay. Now this is it's quite a tough one because honestly it's been on my head quite a bit.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so again, I like to talk about things the long way around. Apologies for that. Sorry
It's
for dragging
fine.
out this episode.
Oh, no,
Um,
absolutely fine.
But essentially, initially, when we just started, my true fear was, holy moly, uh, holy moly, I have no idea how to run a business, right? I have no idea how many, say, licensing rules, all the different laws that we can get into trouble for. I have no idea how any of that works.
How'd you
Thankfully,
come over that?
I had a vague, again, I have a vague notion. I had a vague notion of what we had to do. But then what actually really resolved me was I was lucky enough to have a contact who is a lovely, high ranking corporate lawyer, and I
Oh,
essentially, wrote him an email and went, okay, here's what we want to do, and here's our concerns, and here's what we plan to do, and I got some really lovely feedback on it. And he was also kind enough to refer me to a professional lawyer who is actually specifically for who used to be big corporate lawyer, but essentially started his own firm, I suppose, where they specifically help smaller businesses. And we had a chat. He essentially went, "Well, you don't really need me yet, because turns out you've done everything you need to, and in
great.
case there are new people looking to start a business, I'll tell you here again. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just paraphrasing what I did and what he told me is good. Uh, Register your business, get a business name, register a trademark for your business. If you're
Mm-hmm.
making a game, trademark your game or trademark it early so you don't run into issues like having to stick with a working title like we do. And also essentially just keep an accounting book. It doesn't have to be super fancy. You're not a big corporation, but having something that registers all of your income and outcome, that's it. Like turns out that's all you need to start a business. Being registered and having an accounting book. Like you don't actually have to be super crazy. You don't have to pay $50,000 a month for some fancy accounting software. You can get started that easily.
It's
But
great
then
advice.
now our main concern is essentially no longer the admin side, but rather, oh my god, we don't have anyone to run social medias. People tell us to do TikTok, to do Instagram, to do Twitter or X, um, or X previously known as Twitter. But essentially, they tell us to be on all of the websites. But it's a case of this. Even though we put a lot of heart and soul into this, this still is a side adventure for the time being. There's only three of us. We don't have time to truly develop all the amazing graphics needed or make all the videos needed to maintain a consistent presence. And I'm always worried that perhaps we have a good game but maybe we've slipped through on the marketing part and the whole game falls apart. Because nowadays it's not a concern about if you have something good, it's about if people can hear it. Because again, I hate it, but we are in an attention economy where people have a couple of seconds to spare for you if you're lucky.
Since like the Vine days of like TikTok, it's all just, and now YouTube Shorts, it's all just 10, 15 second scroll. We scroll, we scroll, we scroll. Yeah, yep. It is rough out there. Very rough. That's yeah, I think that like simple little things. And when I guess when we first started looking at putting this thing together, one of the questions we always wanted to ask is like, what would you do? What advice, if you could travel back in time and implant one single piece of like education into your brain on day one, what would it be? But I think that you've given multiple multiple things that you've learned and developed through the time here that, people who are either starting out first game, maybe it's a twinkle in their eye still, and they were like, oh yeah, I want to go out and make a board game, tabletop game, whatever I'm going to put together. And I think that that's really important. Like we've spoken to a couple of people who've released a couple of things, but I really like seeing the creative process, like this time, like where it's all exciting, it's all new, it's all scary. There's a lot of things going and moving all at the same time, and you've got I would be thankful that you have a team, like you have people to bounce the ideas off, make sure that the sanity of the thing that you're doing next is there and sound for sure. Because doing it on your own, that's got to be a time, and I can understand why people come to the social spaces and like ask questions like, what do I do? How do I do this thing? Because it's not something they teach you. Who teaches you how to do this? Like, it's so new. You kind of just got to learn as you go and hope it goes well. A little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, a little bit of, God knows what else.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I've had a blast just going through, picking apart. No, happy to. Since our first conversation, before we even had this idea, the second that I heard about us wanting to do this, I was like, I need Katherine. I need the guys at Tres Gatitos, which I got right again. Amazing. I needed to, I wanted to have a chat with you because, like, you are so receptive to just having a chat with us, letting us in, like, be involved with what you guys are doing and to sort of get behind the scenes a little bit on the journey. So I was, so thankful that you responded yes and wanted to come on board because, there's so much out there that we want to bring to the people who are going to be either taking this journey for the first time, deciding how to do it, or what in this crazy world. So again, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to sort of shout out, maybe your team or anyone else that you've interacted with in the space before we close this one out?
Well, let me full disclosure, I'm not paid, I'm not sponsored or anything, but I do want to shout out you guys, actually, Indiverse, because correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys are also a small team of just 3 people, right? Trying to start this whole thing.
Yep, just 3 of us.
Yeah, and like you said, this whole thing is a crazy journey, and frankly, the one tip I would give to myself, in the very beginning, was essentially, hey, talk to all the people, right? You, in my opinion, have an amazing platform that can potentially solve, again, your major gripe with the whole Kickstarter fizzling out, right? Like, again, not paid, not sponsored or anything. I just genuinely think a marketplace like this, if it gets big, it could be very good. A centralized location, essentially Amazon of the board games.
Look, we hope. Hayden has very big, grandiose dreams for what we could do and what we could be. I honestly, for me, not the business side of things. I've worked in businesses and small businesses for a very long time. So you kind of have to take that hat on a little bit, but it's definitely not my strong suit. I honestly just wanted to do stuff that would make people like you who have a dream and have something amazing and you get a space for it. That's really all I care about. If it makes me my $1 million, that's the cherry on top. But honestly, I know we all dream about it, but honestly, it's got to be like, I feel like much like yourself, I want to go through the steps. I want to be that optimistic person who believes that what we do here is something that can help, the majority of people who are on Kickstarter who don't have anywhere to go. And that breaks my dang heart. Like I've worked with creatives for a long time, game design, in my history, artists, musicians, authors, and it's such a rough ride. And if we can make it easy without trying to do other things that the other players in the game are doing, I don't want to, again, I am paid advertising for what we do, but I still think that it's important to talk about. And that's why we're doing this thing. And that's why we had you. So thank you so much for jumping on. It's been a pleasure. We hope to do this again, and hopefully after Blasphemous is out there and you've made your squillions of dollars and you're throwing us all the advertising help that you can give us, then we'd love to have you again. Like going through the steps, like after all of this, people can go back and listen to this episode and be like, oh, where were they? Where are they now? And they can see that it's not all doom and gloom, and might have even more advice to give out on our next installment. So look, for those at home, thanks for tuning in. Follow up Katherine and the team at Tres Gatitos. It's going to be a tongue twister. I'm going to mess it up on the last one, aren't I? They are great. They have a fantastic game, Blasphemy, working title still. But give them a follow. They got a great space. We'll grab all their socials, chuck it into the show notes for today, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one, gamers. See you later.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye.